been living for almost 9 years. It'll be 9 years in February with type 1 diabetes. He wears an insulin pump. He gets stuck all day long, every day, all night.
Here it is.
Alright, and what does that do?
It gives me insulin when I need it.
And can you feel when you need it? How does it work?
Sometimes, sometimes I don't need it because my blood sugar is low. I need to just eat something sometimes, or drink something. Usually, drinking something will, bring it up faster. But if I'm high, I'll get, thirsty. So that's usually a sign that I'm high. So that's how I can feel.
Now, are you the guy that asked the question last night?
Yeah.
You're very good at asking that question. How old are you?
10 years old.
2 questions.
That's right.
And I got to answer it.
We liked your answer loud.
It was a little bit of a fierce answer, but
Good.
it has to be
Like
said.
yours. I feel the same.
I'm friends with Shane on Facebook.
Guy outside.
Yeah. He doesn't know that though.
You can tell him when you go back outside. Maybe.
Yeah, but what if it's the wrong person?
It's him. You can tell from his picture.
Alright, so what's your names?
I'm Candy. This is my son Christopher, and this is Kaylin.
And how old are you, Kaylin?
19.
I love your hair. It's the most beautiful colour.
Thank you.
Alright, you're 10 years old.
Right.
Got it. Okay, let's hear the story.
Who should I start with? Does it
Chat with
matter?
me and start from the beginning. Who was ever
Okay.
the first person to be injured?
That would be Kaylin. She's my oldest. I actually have 3 kids. I have Kaylin, and then I have Cassie, who's not here. She's 15. And then Christopher. So when Kaylin came along, it was 1997. Perfect birth, perfect pregnancy, perfect, everything was great. Natural birth, everything great. I had no idea about vaccines. I completely bought everything that we're told, it's important, it's, we all do it, whatever. I just did not even question. So she was fully vaccinated, got some stuff in the hospital. And just every time I would take her in to the doctor, she would get very, very upset, just high-pitched screaming. We had bouts of diarrhea, we had fevers, we had redness at the site. Pretty much, almost any reaction you can get from a vaccine. And I would call the pediatrician and they would say, that's normal, all babies do that, it's just a little thing, just give Tylenol, keep, pushing the Tylenol and she'll be fine. So that's what we did. She started speaking really early. At 8 months old, she started saying mama, dada, bye-bye, ball, doggy, puppy, which was really, really great. But around that time, I think around 9 months is when I started seeing things that concerned me, like her extreme sensitivity to sounds. I would pull out the aluminum foil in our kitchen and she would start screaming like something had bit her. And initially that's what I thought. I thought there was like a bug or something that had stung her inside her seat somewhere, and I was looking and I could never find what was causing it. And I finally realized when it kept happening that this was a reaction to sound. If there was a window open and a lawnmower went by outside, she'd lose her mind. Or we'd be, I remember one time she was in her car seat and I opened up the door to get her out of her car seat in the car in traffic, and a loud truck went by and she lost her mind, and it took forever to settle her down. And so a lot of times she would start plugging her ears, and so I asked the doctor and they kept telling me she's talking, she's not autistic, she's fine. And this would have been 1998 by this point. So fast forward, at 15 months she had her MMR and whatever goes with it, all the rest of them. She also got the chicken pox that day. And she had a horrible reaction to that. The leg that they did the MMR in got very red and hot and swollen. She had a very high fever, 103, 104 fever. She woke up screaming like she was on fire. And of course I'm calling the doctor and they said it's just a little reaction, just give her Tylenol, just wait a little bit, she'll be okay. And that was when every night after that, for I want to say 5 days, maybe 7 days, she started having these horrific nightmares. They told me it was night terrors. And it's exactly like I said, she would wake up screaming like she was on fire. And we would pick her up out of her crib and she was stiff as a board and she'd throw her head back. And they're like, it's a nightmare, it's baby nightmares. It's totally normal. It's just, and now I know, It's so frustrating. So, that all happened. Then I kept vaccinating. I never realized that there was anything with the vaccines. It didn't even occur to me that that could have been the cause. Her sister came along, fully vaccinated her in the hospital every 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. Did it all. Everything seemed to be okay with her. By the time before I had Christopher, Kaylin finally was diagnosed with autism. They kept telling me, let me backtrack a little, she had extreme trouble in school. In kindergarten, they would have little spelling tests with very simple words she could not spell. She wasn't able to count correctly, but she knew every dog breed in the world, every bird breed, things that interested her, she was highly, highly aware of. But academic stuff was very tricky for her. And I would ask, is it possible she has dyslexia? They would always say it's an age thing. They grow out of it by by 7 or 8 years old. You'll know if that's an issue. So we had to keep, every year the teachers would say, it's just wait till she's about 3rd grade and you'll know if she has an issue with this or not. But we really think she'll outgrow it. And so by 3rd grade, that's kind of where we hit a brick wall with school. And she was going to a Christian school here in Greenville, and they sat us down and basically said, there's nothing we can do for her. We love her, but she can't do the work. She just can't do it. It was so frustrating because this is my child genius, who is talking at 8 months and can identify a bird by its nest. And I'm like, what do you mean she can't do her 3rd grade work? It just doesn't make sense to me. And so we took her, we had her tested in Florida, and they gave me 46 pages of everything that was wrong with my child. And everything that you could, things I hadn't even heard of before, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, dyslexia, working memory, everything that could possibly be wrong or abnormal, they said was. They said her IQ was very, very low, borderline retarded. And I knew this wasn't true because she's so bright and so able. But they also told me that she had autism as well, which I had been screaming for all those years. So at this point, I had Christopher. I'm trying to make this faster. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to make it fast. We're fine.
I'm just trying to.
Just tell your story how you
around a little. But okay.
So no, you had your next daughter then.
So then I had my next daughter. In that time, I had Cassie, and
she was vaccinated as well.
She was vaccinated as well, and everything. Like I said, she had irritation with the vaccines, but it wasn't even on my radar screen to even. I don't even remember anything because whatever, if she had diarrhea or fevers or whatever, I would have just chalked it up to a baby virus or things that kids get. It hadn't even occurred to me. So once I got the diagnosis of autism, and that's when I really started reading what happened to my child and how could someone so gifted and so talented be so insufficient in school and in her work at school. So, and that's when I started thinking, and I remembered, and I dug out the baby book, and it all came back to the day she got her MMR. And I don't know if you can ever say for sure what vaccine did it, or if maybe it was a combination, but I just feel like her reaction that day was so much different than the rest of them that possibly it was that. And then when Christopher came along, I told the doctor I did not want to vaccinate. I said I'm not, I did want him to eventually have him vaccinated fully because, again, I thought that was right, but I didn't want to vaccinate. I was going to delay and spread them out. And so he didn't have anything in the hospital, to my knowledge, which I got a huge fight from them in Greenville Hospital. They were so nasty to me about the Hep B. And I can remember a doctor would come in and I would explain why there's no reason that my newborn baby needs to have a Hep B vaccine. I don't have it. Explain this to me. And then he would leave, and then eventually another 30 minutes, another doctor would come in and try to explain to me why he should have a Hep B. And I kept saying the same exact thing, and they finally relented and allowed me to not have him have it. So when he was 2 years old, I got into a real fight with his pediatrician at his 2-year appointment, and I said, his sister has a diagnosis of autism. Boys are so much more likely to become autistic than girls. We're not doing it. I don't want vaccines. I want to wait till he's much older. I got browbeated, and finally I said, okay, I'll do 1 shot today. So I agreed to the DTaP, which again isn't even 1 shot, but this is me. I didn't know. And so I did the DTaP, or allowed them to do it, and 2 weeks later we were at Greenville Memorial, and he was in a coma. And that day was really, really horrible.
How long was he in a coma for?
It was about 5 days. They told us he had type 1 diabetes. It took a little while to figure that out. I brought him into the emergency room and he was gasping for air. These kids, when they get diagnosed, they go downhill within like hours. It's really scary. He was gasping for air, and they, when I brought him into the emergency room, the nurse told me that he was constipated. She said, when was the last time he had a bowel movement? And I said, I don't know, a day or two ago, I'm not really sure. He hasn't really been eating much. He's just been drinking a lot. And she said, well, he's constipated. And I said, he's not breathing. You can't tell me that. And so it was this whole thing. So we finally got a real doctor to look at him who took me seriously. And they brought him back, and that's when he went unconscious. His eyes rolled in the back of his head, and he was gone for what seemed like forever. And they finally said, they checked his number, and he was like 337. His blood sugar was, which 100 is normal, or about 80. And they said he has diabetes, and I'm thinking, what? Like, diabetes? Where did this come from? And I kept asking, how? How could my perfect child have diabetes? And they said, the answer that I got is, they said genetics loads the gun and the environment pulls the trigger. And I said, what does that mean? And they said, well, it runs in your family, and something in the environment has triggered it. And I said, it doesn't run in my family. It doesn't run in my family. It doesn't run in my husband's family. How? So now where did it come from? Like, that's not true. And they said, they were like, that was the same answer. That was the only answer I could get. And I said, okay, so what in the environment? And I said, could it be the shot? Oh, no, it's not the shot. It's not the shot. Well, the pediatrician who gave me the shot, who ordered the shot, who fought with me that day to get the DTaP, came to the emergency room in tears. And at the time, I thought, he just really cares about his patients. But looking back, I feel like he knew. He knew that he knew that he knew what he had done to my child. And he was a baby. He was 26 months old. It was awful.
How many times do you use that? How often?
He wears his pump all day, every day, all night.
Yeah, I also, I'm going to go swimming or take a shower.
But we check your number 12, 14, 16 times a day. It just depends. I don't know if you can see. Can we show her your thumbs?
Oh yeah. Oh, we did like a I just got back from school, so we did like a weird science project, but so they're like black.
Dirty.
They're black and
You see
stuff.
those little dots all over his
Yeah,
fingers?
That's
Those
from-
are from all years and years of finger sticks.
They're
What's a
Oh,
finger
like that.
stick?
To check his number, we poke
yeah.
him.
Oh.
And
so
we
you
have to make him
can bleed.
Oh, I'm sorry that this is how you are. It's
Sometimes
horrible for you.
when you have to put in a sensor and so you can see your blood sugar on your pump that I just showed you. I usually put it on the back of my arm, so sometimes the back of my arms are pretty rough too.
He's got scar tissue all through the back of his body from all the pump sites, constant pump sites, but it keeps
You can
him
see them all
alive.
over my
so-
body.
How often do you have to go and see a doctor about this?
About every 3 months.
The endocrinologist.
And they don't try and vaccinate. They do.
Oh,
They
yeah.
really want him to get flu shots.
They really want him to get flu shots.
They said he especially needs the flu shot.
Are
Him
they?
of all
What is the
people.
matter with these people?
I don't know.
And so what happens when you say, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah, I've said, I know what's in it. That's what she says, why aren't you going to do it? And I said, because I know what's in it. And their response is, he needs it. He might catch the flu. And I said, if he catches the flu, he's going to do a lot better if he doesn't have the flu vaccine than if he did. So I guess the moral of the story with Christopher is that one vaccine is what seemed to have been the catalyst for diabetes, and it's not just the MMR, is what is
Right,
my
we know that.
experience.
And we speak to a lot of parents that were bullied, just like you were, and they decide to just go for one, and that one
Is it?
has had the most devastating effect. So
Yeah, it gets a little frustrating at school because when I'm supposed to be learning something, I have to go up and check my sugar or something, and then when I'm supposed to be learning, or when we're about to eat lunch, or when we're at recess, when my blood sugar is going low, or PE or something like that.
do you have to be careful what you eat?
Yes.
Are you on any kind of special diet, or?
No, we've tried them though.
Yeah.
But his endocrinologist says his numbers are great. His A1C is 6.9, which is what they say is excellent, but it's not a cure.
You look amazing.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
very handsome. They asked a great question or questions last night. So, well, we're really sorry that happened to you. And we're really proud of you that you're so in control of it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's great. So, hi.
Hi.
What do you like to do? What's your favourite thing?
I like to train dogs.
Oh, you like to train dogs. And what dogs are your favourite dogs?
I like golden retrievers and labs and German shepherds.
And so, whose dogs do you train?
I train service dogs for people with disabilities.
It's wonderful. So, do you go to a centre?
Well, I had an internship with a program for a few years, but then I kind of branched out, and now I teach disabled people how to train their own service dogs.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
How old did you say you are?
19.
19? And you're doing all that? That's
I'm
amazing.
busy.
You are very
What do you
busy.
do during the day?
Oh, I work part-time as a ABA therapist with autistic kids when I'm not training dogs.
It's wonderful. That's just great. That's just real hope. And do you like writing?
hmm
Do you ever write down your sort of like a journal of what you do?
Yeah, I wrote an article last week that got published.
And where did that get published?
It got published on The Mighty and then on the Thinking Guide to Autism as well. And then a few months ago, Autism Parenting magazine published something I wrote as well.
Wonderful. Well, we'll Google you and see what you come up with. But we're really proud of you. You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
It's a message she wants
Do you have a message? Tell us.
Which one? Because there was 3.
You can tell us all 3. We want to hear all of
to on
them.
my list.
Which ones was it? I don't remember the
Do
3.
you remember the poster that you were going to bring to the rally? What you wrote?
The one I made last night
Mhm.
about how
What'd you
autism is not a gift. Okay, well, the article I wrote several months back was about how I don't believe autism is a gift, and I'm an autistic person, so I feel like I should know. A lot of people say it's a gift, and I feel like they just say it to make themselves feel better about their situation, because I didn't ask for this, because now I can't go to college. I don't have any friends. Even though I'm 19, I don't have any friends. And the kids I work with can't even tell me when they have to use the bathroom. I have a client who is 5 years old, and she has had accidents all day because she will not tell me that she needs to use the bathroom because she can't speak. And she can sign, but that's not enough. She can tell me what food she wants to eat, but she understands so much. She understands everything that's going on around her, and she can't tell me anything more than I want to eat chips. And it's not even a sentence. This is the sign for chips. And she can sign chips. Or she can sign drink. But that's not meaningful communication. So even with ABA, and even with quality services, and even with parent training, and even with medical intervention, it's not a gift. Nobody asks to be like this. Nobody asks for this.
Thank you for saying that. What was your other message?
What was the other message?
I know you had 3
I know.
written down in the car.
You left it in the car.
I didn't want to carry my purse.
Well, you can always do the messages with your phone and send them to Josh. And he can put them up for you. Because we'd love to hear you. In fact, everybody wants to hear way more of you. Because you're intelligent, and it's great to hear your thoughts on everything. Are you guys going to the rally?
We are. We'll be at
You
the
should
one.
be speaking at the rally.
That's what I thought.
You really should be. Exactly.
She's a
what we
neat
wanna hear
girl.
from.
She's been through a lot, and she's doing good things.
You are. You're amazing. You're a real inspiration.
Thank you.
So we really appreciate everything. Now, have you signed the bus?
No.
Would you like to?
Sure.
You can sign the bus.
Really?
Yep, you can. So,
I've wanted to sign the bus a lot.
great. Well, you guys can definitely do that. Let's go and find out what number 1.
I really want to. Wait, today? I
Now,
can sign
right
it
this second.
now.
Yes.
I don't know what you think.
Put it with where Christopher can be with you.
Well, there's lower part there.
3339, right?
Yeah.
And then write your name. Done.
Thank you for what you do for our children. We so appreciate it.
Thank you.
So you're 3340. Suzanne. 6633. Christopher, great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.